My name is Andrey Sobol. Today I will be host of this event, co-host of this event with the first speaker, Illia, who will be talk about LSD of higher orders. And before we start, I just need to say some organizational things. So you can grab some welcome drink on the bar. You can order something on the bar. And we have some free limits, so you can get some free drinks on the bar. Yeah. And today we'll have two talk, one little bit longer from Illia, the another will be a short one, and we will have the panel discussions. So we justify the name of DeFi Dialogs, because we will have the panel discussion. And the first talk will be from Illia Abrosimov from LTV Protocol.
So the LSD of the higher orders, or why nobody will call the LSTs. Yeah, my name is Illia Abrosimov. I'm a co-founder and CEO at LTV Protocol. And today we'll cover this topic. But first of all, what is the LSD? LSD is a liquid staking derivative, also known as a LST very widely. The tokenization of the higher orders is basically like the token over token over token, or derivative over derivative. And why nobody will call the LSTs? So to answer this question, I will tell you 4 short stories. And we'll start from the tokenization of the higher orders itself. And the first thesis that I want to bring today is that tokenization brings market efficiency. It happens because of the 3 main values of the tokenization. It lowers the position entry-exit costs because it's much cheaper to just buy a token instead of doing any complex strategy. It's also easier, makes much easier the position access because it's much easier to buy or sell a token instead of doing any complex strategy. And it brings the composability, the ability to build new products on top of existing ones. And here's like the simple directed acyclic ETH tokenization graph. It's just an example. And to give you the understanding of what's happening here, let's go through the layers. So on the base layer, it just is just a basic token that can be deposited then into, for example, LSTs. Like in this example, Lido or Rocket Pool is the first layer. LSTs in their order can be deposited into LRTs. It's the layer number 2. After that, we can go to Pendle, PT, YT tokens. It's layer 3. Along the whole way, we can deposit these tokens into some LPs, like on any layer. And on the last layer, we have leverage tokens on top of the, for example, PT or YT, or on top of like any other tokens. Now, let's imagine Alice. Alice just wants to maximize her ETH yield, and she goes, for example, to Rocket Pool, deposit ETH, get RETH, then goes to EtherFi, deposits RETH, get ETH, after that goes to Pendle, get some PT, and decides to deposit into a leverage vault based on this PT and get the leverage vault token. So I think even in this room, not so many people go this deep manually. They just because it's much easier to buy a leverage vault token instead doing all the complex strategy. And this is exactly how the tokenization of the higher orders works, because it's instead of doing any complex strategy, you just define a risk-reward profile that you are up to, and you buy a token of this position. And of course, with each layer, you have some additional rewards from the tokens, but it also implies some additional risks from each layer. And today, I want to talk about the specific risk that the last layer have, and basically why this is the last layer, and this is the risk of the curator. So for now, all the leverage tokens are curated strategies, and this is what we define as a problem. So we think that curated approach is creating glass ceiling for the new layers of the tokenization. Let me explain it. So the leverage token layer has 3 kinds of risks. The first 2, liquidation risk and interest rate volatility risk, are pretty basic, and this is a part of the nature of the leverage position itself. It cannot be removed in any way. But the curator risk can be removed. It's basically just a lazy design solution that's the manual work that can be automated. And here's how we define the curated risk to be precise, like the LTV. So the curated vaults, in our opinion, is that vaults that have non-transparent and unpredictable, first of all, strategy. Nobody can understand how the strategy will behave because it's executed from defined from the on-chain or from off-chain, sorry. And it cannot be executed by anyone. It can be executed only by the curator. Curatorless vaults, in a contrast, they are fully public and predictable on the on-chain level, and they can be executed by anyone, basically fully permissionless. And we have hypothesis that the next layer of the tokenization will be built, but there is one precise blocker, and this is the risk of the curator. That closes basically the opportunity to build the next layer of the tokenization. So why the curatorless is a secret sauce? I think at that point it's pretty obvious, because curatorless approach always open the possibility to build on top, always open the possibility to next layer of tokenization. But it can be really tricky to implement, and in case of leverage vaults, actually nobody did it so far. And I have a great news. We did it. We described a fully formal model for the curatorless leverage tokenized vaults in our paper that we published in November, and shortly after that raised a round from a DeFi OGs. And now I want to tell you about the impacts that the curatorless leverage tokens can have on this market, and why in the end nobody will hold the LSTs. So first of all, we will come back to the market efficiency. At this chart, we can see the APY of top LSTs during this period, and around 2 years ago, we see a high difference in the rewards of the LSTs. In other words, it's like the high cross-sectional yield dispersion of the rewards. And along the way, we see all the LSTs coming to some stable average values in the LSTs APY. And we basically, this is process that is called sigma convergence of the staking rewards. And we believe this has happened because LSTs transformed the staking into a liquid and arbitrable market, and basically the efficiency of this market won. And now I want to show you some numbers about the yield from the not LSTs itself, but the leverage positions on top of the LSTs. And if we can take a look at some examples, for example, LIDO LST on the same LTV protocol, but on the, I'm not sure if you can see it, but on the same, on the different chains, on the BNB chain, it has like 6 times more yield than on Ethereum. Another example that's the same, the both LSTs on the same Morpho protocol on base has yields that much increased comparing to Ethereum. Or like on the Ethereum, Ether5 constantly outperforms LIDO in leverage positions, and on base, it is like totally opposite. And the idea that I'm trying to tell you here is that this is not looks like the optimal scoring of the risks, it's more look like the market inefficiencies. And if we can come back to this chart of the LSTs APY, we see how the convergence was happening with the LSTs and staking rewards market. So we believe that with leverage tokens, we'll see kind of the same picture, while along the whole way, they will come to some, they will optimize this market to some average stable values. And because, why there's interest rates in the title? Because leverage positions are highly dependent on the interest rate, and by arbitraging the leverage positions, we'll basically arbitraging and optimizing the interest rates. By the way, I have a lot of info about the leverage positions in this presentation, so it's all gathered in our market research document. So if you want to take a look, just contact me. We'll be happy to share. The next thing of the impact of the leverage tokens is the TVL boost. So right now there is around 6.8 billion available to be deposited into LIDO thanks to the leverage positions, and pretty much same numbers for the Ether5, Rocket Pool, Renzo, etc., etc. So like the boost of the leverage tokens will also boost the TVL of the LSTs and LRTs. But more interesting is that it also will accelerate the competition of these LSTs. Because most of the liquidity, as you can see, coming from the shared pools, lending protocols with shared pools like Aave3, Compound, Spark, etc. And the if this liquidity is lying in a shared pool, it can be deposited either to Lido or to Rocket Pool or to EtherFi, and it's already stimulating, but with like adoption of the leverage position, it will stimulate much more the competition between the LSTs. And the funny thing that lending protocols in that case become the providers of kind of unfair competitive advantage, because by tweaking like the risk parameters for some specific LST, you can make leverage position much more attractive or like less attractive for some specific asset. And in the end, yeah, why nobody will hold the LSTs or LSDs? Because they will hold the liquid staking derivatives of the higher orders, like auto rebalancing indexers, aggregators with leverage, etc. That will boost the APY of the holders really significantly. And by doing that, they will also optimize the market, like stimulate the processes of the natural selections of the token. So yeah, it's not about the gambling on 100x, it's just like stimulating the natural evolutionary processes. And obviously we want to be part of this future. So yeah, that's why we already published a paper deployed in a testnet for already 2 months, I think. You can check and play with our testnets. You can become our first CVL provider. And right now we are the feature freeze. And I have here like a small announcement, the slide that we are preparing for the staking rewards staking summit conference in 2 weeks. So it's a bit insider information. It's that we are coming to the mainnet in August 2025. At the first stages, our mainnet will be only for selected liquidity providers, but shortly after that, we'll open it to public. So that's why you may consider to follow us on the Twitter. And yeah, thank you for your attention. Maybe if you have any questions to ask.
How we can get this deck?
I can send it to you. In case you're asking about the market research, or like this exact deck. This deck, I can send it like to, I think, in the Luma, to all the events. Yeah,
to the Luma chat.
Yes.
How will it hurt Ethereum if all can be liquidated like at once because of such solutions?
This is a great question. So the idea is that why you need to have this kind of primitive is that you don't need to think about the liquidation in that case, because the protocol is designed in such a way that incentives are always aligned, that you are like most likely to rebalance the vault. Rebalance the vault is basically more profitable for you instead of like liquidating your position. So there's like, this is exactly like the tool that protects you from liquidation, actually.
Waiting for a mainnet.
Thank you.
But what if market falls so rapidly that like the rebalancing doesn't happen?
Yeah, so that's why we are starting from the leverage for yield positions, because it's always about the correlated pairs of assets. And we choose like the first stages of the protocol, the assets that are basically having like the oracle's price feed directly from the redemption price, not from the market price, to avoid this kind of attacks where you can just dump a price in the DEX and liquidate the position. But if we're speaking about the leverage for like long or short position, where the assets could be really volatile, like ETH to USD or BTC to USD, this is what we are going to bring in the V2 version of the protocol. And the additional thing that we'll add in the V2 version is the soft liquidation mechanism. So basically the ability to soft liquidate your position in a protocol before doing that in lending protocol.
That means soft liquidation.
So the soft liquidation is basically when you're like in simple terms, you're opening like a range sell position for your token, and you're just like closing your leverage position as the price go down. So
like stop loss, still in your best available.
Yeah, kind of like stop loss, but it's like not on the some specific price. It's like in the range, in the price range. So you're starting slowly setting your closing your position, beginning like from some price and like ending before like the threshold of the lending protocol for liquidation. I mean, some lending protocols already have some soft liquidation in their design, but like the biggest amount of liquidity is like in our, for example, V3, which don't have soft liquidation so far, so we'll need to implement it on our side. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just trying to understand, like, okay, if the risk profile of holding the leverage token for LST, for example, is the same as for depositing your token into the lending protocol, is it comparable?
I mean, yeah, by depositing, if by depositing you mean like opening leverage position by yourself.
No. I mean,
Well, just like as a collateral.
On the supply side. So they supply Ethereum to be borrowed.
No, it's different because you have additional risk of the interest rates, because at some point the interest rates can flip and then you will pay more for borrowing the asset than you like get from holding the LST.
Okay.
And in that case, it might be a little bit more risky because like you can have like the negative profits for some period of time. But what we are trying to design is like the mechanism that will basically like rebalance your position in that situation.
Okay.
So we will wait for some time before doing like the full rebalance. But yeah.
Okay. So then the question: what do you expect to be higher, the interest rate for lenders or the interest rate on the leverage position?
I mean, obviously the interest rate on the leverage positions will be always higher.
But that creates incentive for the people on the lender side to move liquidity to leverage.
Yeah, but as I said, it's like a different risk profile. So it's much safer to you just to lend this liquidity because in that case you're not exposed to the volatility of the interest rates.
Okay.
In the case of the leverage position, you are. Yeah.
Okay, so higher risk, higher rewards.
Yeah, exactly. It's just different risk profile for different people. Yeah.
Plus centralized Oracle risk slide that has centralized Oracle.
Yeah. They're actually like could be risk from the centralized Oracle and as well as like the from the market Oracle from the market price. So yeah.
Oracle risks.
Oracle risks. Yeah. Any more questions? Okay, thank you very much for your attention. We will have a 10-minute break, I think, and then we'll start the panel discussion.